Delighted to be joined in lockdown by Kevin Kilbane, also known as Zinedine Kilbane, for those of you who haven't heard of him, all the way over in Toronto. How are you, Kev?
I'm very good, Leon. All's good, thanks. Just getting through it all now. I think we're all probably in the same boat, aren't we? We've had to maybe get through this last few months, and hopefully now we're at the back end of it.
And what's it like? You've been over there now a couple of months. Obviously, I'm assuming it's similar to almost around the rest of the world. Not a lot of things open, just trying to get through this.
Yeah, I actually came over it was actually going to be a short-term thing. I came over the 13th, 14th of March, just before everything went into lockdown. So then flights changed and obviously were cancelled and things like that. So I was actually, I'm say stuck here. You know, I wouldn't want to say that, but essentially I have been, because I've not been able to get back at all. So that's how it's been. And everything's pretty much the same here as it would be back over there in Ireland and across the UK. It's we're in lockdown. You know, only certain stores are open that you can actually go to. Obviously, essential needs and things like that. And it's been pretty much housebound for the last few months. You know, out for a little bit of exercise here and there. We're not too far from Lake Ontario where we are, so it's been having a little walk down there here and there. But that's been pretty much it. It's been fairly much in lockdown like everybody else.
And Kev, we're going to have a chat to you obviously about football in terms of Project Restart, as it's been named, in terms of the Premier League. Different dates are being bandied around, whether it be June the 12th, June the 19th, whatever time it is. I want to get your opinions on, A, how would you feel if you were in this position yourself back during your playing career? And then B, to look at some of the players now who are obviously refusing to go back to training because of their health concerns.
Yeah, there's probably a number of issues here. You and I would be in the same boat, Leon. We're parents now. Once you have kids, I think you feel differently, don't you? You obviously want to protect your children. You don't necessarily want to put them at risk. And I think that's what's probably in a lot of the players' mind. I do feel for a lot of the players that are refusing to go back into training now, simply because you don't want to put your family at risk. I think if you're a single lad, or if you've not got any sort of real responsibilities and football has been your job, you'll just want to get back playing. You'll want to be back in training. You want to be amongst the lads, and you'll want to be doing what you've done since you were a young kid. So I can understand an argument certainly from a player's perspective, or from both sides. But I think realistically, in my mindset would be, certainly now, is I think we've got to be more cautious than anything else. We've got to try and, there's been a lot of tragedies for a lot of families, and that's the most important thing. And I certainly think that a lot of families that's been put at risk, if they were to come back, then that's got to be the most important thing. But I think in general, things are starting to open. I think we've all missed live sport. I think everyone, you don't realize how much you miss it just flicking on the TV at night, and even when you're out walking about, streaming things on your phone and things like that, we miss it. And I've certainly missed it over the last few months. And I think the gradual process of getting things restarted will be beneficial to everybody, because I think even if you sat at home, games played behind closed doors will be great, I think, to watch, because I think it's great entertainment for everybody when they're back at home.
And Kev, is there an argument, or is there a debate that says if some of the key players of certain sides don't go back, which is well within their reason, they are looking after their health, which is number one, does then it become an unfair finish to the season if you look at a couple of clubs that have some of their star players missing, and they're trying to either maybe qualify for Champions League or stay in the Premier League? Is there then a serious debate that needs to be had, like what they've done in Holland, what they've done in France, what they've done in Scotland, that you settle the league without playing any more games?
Well, you can understand, if we're going to settle the league now as it stands, there is so much at stake. You look, we're not necessarily going to be talking about the Championship at the moment, but how many sides have got to the stage of the season we were at and gone on a run of winning 9 out of 10 games to the end of the season, just get into the playoffs and then get promoted? I understand there's way wider issues than just football. And I think when you're playing and when you're involved in football for such a long time, you're kind of in that little bit of a bubble where nothing else matters. I think when you take that step back out of it, there are wider issues here, and that's the most important thing. I personally feel as well with what's happened around Europe. You mentioned the Dutch league, you mentioned the French league and Scottish football and things like that. It's unfair anyway now with those leagues finishing, because we're looking at Champions League finishes for next season. We're looking at promotion and relegation. It is going to be an unfair finish. I don't know how realistically the authorities are going to get their head around trying to organise everything in place to make it fair for everybody, because as you say, I mean, lads that's not going to come back into training, and if the league resumes and they maybe had 2 or 3 days training, they're not fit enough, they're not up to speed. There's so much that needs to be addressed, and I don't know how it can be addressed. That's the thing. I think it's going to be unfair anyway with the leagues that have finished around Europe to resume, or when the Premier League does resume, it is going to be unfair anyway. And I think personally, I would like to see it get finished. I would, because I think in general, playing games behind closed doors, if that's the way it's got to be, then that's the way it's got to be, and I think that's the only way that we're going to get fairness over the next few years. Certainly, with what's at stake financially for a lot of clubs and what it means to a lot of supporters as well.
Well, Kev, that leads me on to probably the next question in terms of if we do get back, and it obviously will be behind closed doors. Do you see any particular sides that may benefit from no supporters, or is there teams that will be absolutely missing their home fans, missing that atmosphere, missing that adrenaline that you get when you play in front of your home supporters? How do you see that happening, maybe towards the bottom of the league, or even in the chase for top 4?
Yeah, that's a great point, Leon, on that, because I think everyone will suffer. You know, whether you're at the bottom of the table and you're desperate to get results and you need that home crowd. How many times have you and I spoke over the years, and when I've been on doing blogs, home advantage, get your home form right. You've not got that advantage now, and that of course will be a huge disadvantage to so many clubs if you are scrapping to try to stay up. As I was saying, I think the top's done. I think the top was done anyway. That the points total for Liverpool is too great. City would have cemented the top 4 finish, I would have imagined anyway, and there would have been a little bit of uncertainty around that 3rd and 4th spot. They're the only positions really at the top end that you were looking at. It was more at the bottom of the league, and I think, you know, Leeds looked like they were a shoo-in to get promoted as well. West Brom were in a great position at the top end of the Championship. How do they feel? How are they going to fare? What's the condition on the players going back in for all the clubs at the bottom of the Premier League? How are they going to feel? How are they going to get themselves right? These are the pressing matters that's going to concern the clubs, because if you get up and running again now and sides are a little bit fitter than you, you're on catch up, particularly at the stage of the season that we're at. So I think everybody's going to be at a disadvantage, Liam, regardless of what's going on, regardless of what happens in the run-in. But as we've said constantly, it's unprecedented with what's happened, and I can't see any other logical solution that we can come to really, other than play behind closed doors and get the games back playing, and then we can all benefit maybe from just watching a bit of live sport as supporters.